I have this infuriating recurring dream where I'm getting ready for some important event. Sometimes I flash back to high school and I'm getting ready for prom. Other times it's a concert or a show that I'm really looking forward to. Or maybe it's just a night out and a party, but someone that I haven't seen in a really long time is going to be there and I'm excited to go. I have to get dressed up for the night. It's a fancy thing, and I've left myself plenty of time to get ready. So I go into the bathroom and I start on my hair and makeup, but something strange happens. My movements become clumsy and I get stuck in these loops. I'll put on my eyeliner, but it's all wrong, so I take it off and I try again. Or I'll put up my hair and then take it down again. Nothing's quite right. I stare at the mirror, obsessively fussing and fixing for hours, and the entire night goes by. I never leave the mirror. And once I realize that I missed the whole night, I am so frustrated at myself. I'm seething. How could I let this happen? Why didn't I just get ready and go? Who cares about the hair and makeup? I certainly didn't. It was never the point. The event, that night out, was always the point. The dream reminds me of a pattern that I've noticed in myself and others. We pour so much time, money, and energy into pursuits that were only ever meant to serve some other end. We're at point A, trying to get to point B, and everything in between, the moves we make, the things we buy, the habits we build, those are all means to an end. That part feels obvious, but here's where I think it gets tricky. Somewhere along the way, we start to treat the means like the end. We get so focused on the means, we forget to ask whether they're even serving their purpose, whether they're getting us closer to what we want. Before I go any further, welcome back. If you're new here, hey, I'm Brittany. On this channel, I usually do deep dives into the books that I'm reading. I'm currently obsessed with fantasy, but I also talk about ideas and experiences that have been paradigm shifting for me. So if you're into that, come along. Okay, stupid example. Let's say you want to buy a Charlotte Tilbury highlighter because you saw this girl on the Instagram with the light hitting her cheekbone in the perfect aesthetic way. And you want to look like the girl. But you don't want to look like her just for the sake of looking like her. Looking like her is the means. You want to look like her because maybe you think it'll attract the sort of attention you're after. Maybe you're trying to attract a partner. Maybe it's a status play. Maybe you want admiration from your peers. Or maybe you're after confidence because you feel less than in some way. I'm not trying to make a value judgment on any of these motivations or desires, but I'm trying to point out that if you trace it back, it becomes clear that the highlighter isn't the end, it's the means. And this is the part we often overlook. A lot of the things we think of as ends, like beauty, status, and confidence, are really just nested means to deeper emotional ends like love, connection, and security. Hear me out. Attracting a partner is a means to feeling loved and connected. And status might be a backwards attempt at reinforcing our own sense of worth from the outside in. Confidence isn't usually the goal either. It's more like a doorway. With confidence, we are able to connect more easily, act more freely, and to feel more at peace with ourselves. Confidence is the means. The end is what happens when the self-doubt quiets down. Another obvious example of nested means is money. No one actually wants a specific number in their bank account for the sake of that number. What people actually want is what that number means, what that number will buy them, what it will unlock for them. Happiness, freedom, validation, safety. Money is a means, not an end. Nobody buys a $100,000 car just to drive to work and the grocery store. People buy expensive cars because of how other people will see them driving in that car, and in turn, how they'll see themselves. After our basic needs are met, money is often a way of signaling status, the identity of someone who's succeeded, who's powerful, who's intelligent. These are internal states that are associated with wealth, but they aren't necessarily created by wealth. And even these identities are nested means themselves. Wanting to appear successful and powerful usually reduces to deeper needs like security, belonging, and relief from feelings of inadequacy. Of course, there are caveats. Professional accomplishments and money might actually be valid means to worthy ends. But those aren't the examples I'm talking about. Instead, I'm trying to hone in on how much time we spend optimizing for how we think other people are going to perceive us. And that's usually tied to our needs to feel loved, connected, secure, and at ease with ourselves. Money doesn't buy things, it buys emotions. And if you know the emotions you want to feel, you can bypass the materialism middleman. So if money isn't intrinsically valuable, and status isn't intrinsically valuable, what is intrinsically valuable? What are ends that are ends in and of themselves? That's for you to decide, but I think freedom, compassion, love, purpose, creative expression, experiencing awe and gratitude, these things aren't serving some other end. They can't be reduced to something else. They aren't nested means. The real tragedy of confusing means for ends are the quiet, socially rewarded habits that shape entire identities. Like the overachiever who stays hypervigilant and overprepared just to seem impressive and accomplished, when what they actually want is to feel worthy. Or the conflict-averse, nice person who hides their true selves and their real opinions just to seem pleasant, when what they really want is belonging. Being perceived as impressive or pleasant aren't ends. They're just long detours in the direction of belonging, security, and self-worth. Most people chase status, approval, and admiration. They never articulate the ends they actually care about, and as a result, they end up confusing nested means for ends. It's like they get stuck in a hamster wheel and never reach the destination. One of the biggest reasons we get stuck in this hamster wheel, pursuing means instead of ends, is because of what we consume on social media. We spend so much time watching means content. Every get ready with me shopping haul, skincare routine, day in the life, level up video. It's all means to some end. We spend hours and hours watching people optimize their faces, bodies, minds, habits, routines, careers. Social media teaches us how to perform the means. But here's the thing we all already know. Curating and perfecting the outside does not guarantee any meaningful shift on the inside. Until you clearly define the internal state you're after, you'll keep searching and consuming and exposing yourself to the gap between where you are and where you want to be, to what you're deprived of, or the ways you feel insufficient. It's an insidious loop that will leave you worse off. So it's worth asking, what do you really want? And what's the most direct path to get it? A helpful litmus test is something I call the desert island test. If you were stranded on a desert island with only your close family and friends, would you still care about brand names or anti-aging routines or increasing your income? Or are those pursuits meaningful because of what they signal, that you're wealthy, attractive, accomplished? Without the social mirror reflecting those identities back at you, what remains genuinely meaningful? What I hope you take from this is simple. Get clear on the end, the actual end, the thing with intrinsic value that doesn't collapse into some deeper longing underneath it. When you know what you genuinely want, love, connection, safety, purpose, inner peace, you can stop wasting your limited, precious time optimizing for the proxies. You can stop mistaking the means for the ends. Because it's frighteningly easy to lose entire years in front of a metaphorical mirror, fixing, optimizing, performing, and never actually walking out the door. If any of this resonated with you, I think you'll also like the video where I do a deep dive into the book Transcend. I talk about self-actualization and purpose and the trap of pursuing goals that are intended to keep you psychologically safe instead of help you grow. You might also like the video where I talk about how incorporating the habit of reading every day helped me wean off information overload and changed my brain in a way that I didn't expect. Thanks so much for being here. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.